When you're learning the basics about photography, there's three main things you should know: shutter speed, aperture, and image sensitivity. Today, we're going to talk about image sensitivity. Image sensitivity, or ISO as everybody calls it, really dictates how sensitive your camera is to the light coming into it. For example, on a digital camera, I can change it on will and whim. But if you have something like a film camera, well, you're limited to the type of film that you buy. Film usually comes in an ISO value, and then you have to use it all the way through. An 800 is about great for most people when shooting with film. You can also get lower versions as well, but that's about the standard. But on digital cameras, who cares about film? We can have it and change it to however we want. What does ISO really have to do with a photo anyways? Well, it's how sensitive it is to light coming into it. For example, if I was to use this background and I were to take different photos at different ISO values, you'd find that if you were shooting at an ISO of 100 or 200 at the same shutter speed and aperture, you would find that the image would be darker, or if you exposed it right, the right exposure. But if you kept the aperture and the shutter speed at the same and started stopping up the ISO, getting higher and higher, above 800, above 12,000, you'd start to notice that the image was getting brighter, a lot brighter. And also with that, it will start to get a little bit grainy, depending on how good your camera is. Above a certain point, that grain becomes a little bit too much and it kind of distorts your photo and looks weird. But it's basically how much the light is sensitive to the sensor. And this helps in many ways. For example, I'll give you a great example here. Let's say I wanted to stop a sports action event. I was taking photos indoors at a sports action event. Well, I would want to turn up my ISO to a higher value, maybe about 800, so that I can stop down, or actually stop up, my shutter speed, so I can get a faster shutter speed. And when you're getting faster shutter speeds, you also need to take into account ISO values, because that kind of works into, well, if I have a faster shutter speed, my camera needs to be more sensitive to light so I can properly expose it. And so that kind of works out that way. Basically, in its short term, ISO works with the aperture and with your shutter speed to create a properly exposed photo. That's, I think, is what answers your question. What is ISO? It's how sensitive your camera is to the light that's coming into it. Thank you so much for watching. My name is Creighton Miller. If you have any questions for me, email me, Creighton@cameragazer.com. Almost said another thing. You can follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Google+, all under the username of CameraGazer. Thank you so much for watching. Be sure to like and share this video, and, well, we'll see you guys next time.